Welcome to Touchdown Town on BetsTV. I'm Gilles Gallant with FTNBets and BetsTV. It's week 18 in the NFL, first ever week 18 for a regular season, so it's new for everybody. And we've been here every Sunday morning helping you make top quality decisions for your touchdown prop bets. And I want to welcome in my co-host, Brenden Deeg of National Football Post. Brenden, I only have one question for you. Did we kill it yesterday?
Oh, yes. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside did take away a little bit of juice. Not a little bit of juice, quite a bit of juice, actually. But we rocked it yesterday. Yesterday was a big day, especially for you. I did not have Drew Lock. You, the king, had Drew Lock.
Well, I think we did have a good day yesterday. I had Drew Lock at plus 1,200 to rush for a touchdown. He ended up rushing for 2 touchdowns. I ended up finishing up like 16 and a half units on my bets. I got Tyree Jackson, who just caught his one and only pass with the Eagles as filling in for Dallas Goedert. And you made like 8 to 10 units just off yourself. You had Cedric Wilson as well. I had Dalton Schultz. So good day all around for us. So we're going to get started here. We've got our 5 best bets for touchdown scores for the 1 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Eastern games. And of course, as well, I'm going to be doing a few bonus picks as well. And then if you've been watching the show all year, we're going to throw in a little bit of a highlight reel, talk about some of our highlights, and of course, mainly from me, lowlights of picks of on the show this year. Now, before also we get started with the picks, I want to remind everybody to check out my weekly show, Dog Day Afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern on BetsTV. It's live every Tuesday. And we had Brenden, we were just talking to our producer, Tino Rodriguez. He is our producer of the show. He was on the show this past week. And I felt like I was trolling. I just kind of poked the bear, just asked him about the New York Giants, and he just unleashed a fury of a tirade, I would say. And it was hilarious to watch. It was fun to just be a part of it. So you can go check that out on the BetsTV YouTube channel. Now, Brenden, I think we need to keep the good times rolling. It's week 18. We're going to be doing this as well during the playoffs, but let's finish the season strong. I'm going to get us kicked off here with a first pick of week 18. Brenden, contract incentives are a pretty big deal right now to finish the year. And the first guy that caught my eye for that was Tyler Lockett. His Tyler Lockett anytime touchdown odds right now are at plus 225 at Bet365. I just checked before the show started. He's around plus 190 at DraftKings and FanDuel. And speaking of the contract incentive, he earns $1.2 million bonus if he scores 2 touchdowns today against the Cardinals. Last year, he had 4 touchdowns in 2 games versus Arizona with a 3-touchdown game. He's also scored in 3 of his last 4 games. And guess who's given up the most touchdowns of wide receivers this year, Brenden? Arizona with 24. I also want to give a shout out to Jared Smith, picks-wise. He's been tracking a lot of the contract incentives for players, and he brought up the fact that with the 2-touchdown incentive for Lockett of the $1.2 million, you're looking around for odds right now. Lockett for 2 touchdowns is at least plus 1,000 at a lot of different books. So I'm going to be sprinkling on that one as well. But Tyler Lockett, anytime touchdown at plus 225 is my first official pick of week 18.
That was a nice little nugget there. You had 2 touchdowns, so he makes how much money again?
$1.2 million.
That's a lot of chunk of change. I'm sure the sideline knows that. The Seahawks offense, I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure he's been thinking about that all week. So that's definitely a good reason.
Well, especially if you think of like the passer rating that Russell Wilson has had in his career when throwing to Tyler Lockett. I just honestly think that it's a game that he's going to be featured a lot. So just to be safe, I'm going with the 1 touchdown. But again, I wouldn't be mad at anybody who wanted to look at the multi-touchdown prop. All right, Brenden, that's my first pick of week 18. Let's hear your first pick of the week.
Okay, so I'm going to a game that probably not going to be very watched. Bears versus Vikings. I'm going with Darnell Mooney. Plus odds are available at FanDuel. Andy Dalton is getting the start for the Bears today. And Andy Dalton and Darnell Mooney have a great connection. Actually, when Andy Dalton's been in the game, Mooney's been the guy that they've been going to. Since week 12, Darnell Mooney has played over 87% of the snaps. And just in his last 3 games, he's got 29 targets and a touchdown. He's been a target machine over the last 3 weeks. He's basically their best player on offense.
Easily.
And I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game in general. Both these defenses are kind of haven't been playing very well this year. So I think there's going to be a ton of action in this game. I think Kirk Cousins throws a couple touchdowns. I think Andy Dalton does as well. And Darnell Mooney is my favorite one in this game.
I'll have a pick for this game a little bit later, but I love Mooney. But what drives me crazy about Mooney is he's so talented, but it's just the quarterbacks have been like his biggest hindrance, right?
Yeah.
Like he can beat defenses over the top. He's good over the middle. But then you're always dealing with the noodle arm of Andy Dalton or the just lack of experience with Justin Fields. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the possibility of Jimmy Graham getting another touchdown today? I saw his odds around plus 650, plus 700. And of his touchdowns, he scored 2 of them in Dalton starts. Dalton started 5 games this year. He's had 2 touchdowns with Dalton this year. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were for anybody who might be considering him today.
Well, if I'm the Bears, I don't get the Jimmy Graham thing. I don't. Like you drafted Cole Kmet in the 2nd round.
I agree.
Let him play majority of the snaps. But man, he's been a touchdown. Like I think he's got like just under 20 targets this year, and he's got like 6 or 7 touchdowns.
And I'd say 16 of those 20, Brenden, are in the red zone.
Exactly.
Like it's hilarious.
He's basically a power forward in the end zone. He just boxes guys out and they throw it up to him. So at those odds, definitely a good look. I believe we both were on that in a night game this year as well when it hits. So he's always kind of at those odds. But yeah, I if I'm them, I'm playing Cole Kmet all game.
It drives me crazy because Cole Kmet has yet to score this year, and he's clearly more talented. He has way more targets in red zone. Statistically, it doesn't make any sense. So I still like Graham. I'm not going to personally play him, but if you wanted to play him, it's still pretty decent odds. And this is obviously the last week that you're going to be able to bet on him because the Bears aren't making the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right, now moving on to second pick of the week. Going with a little bit of a super rookie here, Brenden. Went with Jalen Waddle. Grabbed him at plus 260 at Bet365. He's down to plus 220, for example, at FanDuel right now. I'd still play him at those odds. He scored in 3 of the last 5 games. He scored in week 1 versus the Patriots, for example. And the reason why I'm playing him is because of the odds. At plus 260, he's typically around plus 150 each week. If you go back and look at the odds tracker that we have at FTNBets, we're able to track anybody's anytime touchdown scorer odds for a given week. And so the fact that you're getting him at plus 260, even over plus 200 to me, I think is value. He can also break the rookie record for 3 more receptions this year. So I think Tua is going to look for him a lot. Now the Patriots, they haven't given up a lot of touchdowns this year really at any level. When you look at the stats, like tight ends, quarterbacks, wide receivers, they're all top 5 or pretty close to it. But they have given up 10 touchdowns to wide receivers. So that is, if you're going to try to find a weakness in the Patriots defense, I think this is probably the spot. As well, I think the weather in Miami will maybe soften up the Patriots defense a little bit. We all know the history of the Patriots going to play in Miami. It doesn't usually bode well for them. And I like Devontae Parker too. You can probably get him around plus 250 to plus 260, but I just think Jalen Waddle, his star is going up. I'm going to ride with him this week against the Patriots for my second pick of week 18.
Patriots defense has allowed 60 points in the last 2 weeks. They haven't been kind of the juggernaut that they were earlier this year. So yeah, Waddle's their best player. And I think Brian Flores is kind of one of those coaches that will have his team playing hard in the last week of the season. Yeah,
especially after last week where they just looked like trash against the Titans. I really thought that was a really disappointing result, the way that they just kind of fell flat there. I think they will have a little bit of a bounce back effort. Maybe even consider Tua for a rushing touchdown. I saw him around plus 600 as well. All right, Brenden, let's hear your second pick of week 18.
Okay, so I'm going to probably the most interesting game of the week. I had to get one on this game just so I could watch and have a little money on it. I'm going to the San Francisco 49ers versus LA Rams game. I'm taking Van Jefferson plus 240. Those odds are available at FanDuel. He's played over 90% of snaps in 2 of his last 3 weeks. So that means his production hasn't gone down, even though Odell is getting a little more touches and a little more looks, even though that Cooper Kupp is still probably the most dominant force in the NFL. I think that Van Jefferson's going to be needed in this game. If you're the 49ers and you're DeMeco Ryans, defensive coordinator of the 49ers, I'm sure all week the focus was don't let Cooper Kupp beat you. Don't let Cooper Kupp beat us. Let other players on that team beat us. And the 49ers are playing for a playoff spot. The Rams are also playing for some seeding, for a higher seed in the NFC. So I think Van Jefferson needed his he's going to be called early and often. And I'm looking forward to this game. This is going to be the best game of the day.
I think so. I think Chargers Raiders will still be pretty good as well, just given the stakes. But again, these stakes kind of are in connection with that. So I agree with you. Van Jefferson is one of my favorite bets to make on that team just because he gets just as much snaps and features as Cooper and Odell Beckham. Obviously, Cooper just has a little bit more, especially with the incentive now of Kupp. I don't know if you've been looking at his prop lines. Like, he has one of the highest reception prop lines I've seen for a receiver in a long time. It's like 10 and a half.
800 for 2+. I was looking at that, but like not enough juice whatsoever.
No. So I think with Kupp, and you've seen this with this offense, they force it to him all the time. Even when Robert Woods, as soon as he went out, you would think, okay, now they're going to try to double team Kupp, and it doesn't matter because he always gets open, and it's kind of hilarious in some instances, but not so much when you bet on Van Jefferson and he's wide open and then he still forces it to Cooper Kupp. So, and I'd also, if anybody's looking at another touchdown score in this game, I have one coming up, but I would also even take a look at Tyler Higbee as well. I've seen him around plus 275, plus 300. He did score in the last matchup against the 49ers as well. But consider that. I'm actually going with a different 49er in this game. And we're going to take a little bit of a long shot, Brenden. Biggest long shot pick of the year I think I've done. And it's going to be Kyle Juszczyk at plus 950. I grabbed him at FanDuel. And Juice's physicality is the reason why I'm making this bet. It's going to be desperately needed against this defensive line that's actually been picked up a little bit. They've actually had quite a few sacks over the last few weeks, especially Von Miller, who's really picked it up. And the one thing I love about Juice is he's top 3 in both red zone targets and red zone rush attempts on the team. And the Rams have been getting chopped up by running backs lately. I actually have Deebo Samuels over in rushing yards at 21.5, but I think Juszczyk is going to have to be out there from a blocking standpoint. And Jimmy Garoppolo, from all reports, from what I've been reading, is that he is going to play today. And if Jimmy plays, I like Juice's chances even better to score. For example, Juice, he played nearly 25 snaps in the red zone over the last 4 games. So at these odds, at plus 950, I'm going to take a swing at this fullback. We'll get a couple looks in the end zone in a must-win game for the 49ers.
Yeah, he's been friendly to you. I think you've hit him. You had that one sweep earlier this year, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in the night game, where he was plus 1,200, something like that.
He was plus 700 against the Packers in Week 3 in prime time. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think, he is a friend of the show, and he's also the type of player that I love betting on players that I know that are going to be out there in circumstances like in the red zone. Even if he doesn't necessarily get the target, he's going to have to be out there because they need extra help on blocking. They need extra help. He could slip a block and then just be wide open in the end zone. He's the type of player that I want at these odds, especially. So that's my third pick of Week 18. Brenden, let's hear your third pick.
Okay, so I really like this one. This is a guy that I watched since the Eagles played Washington last week. I watched the full game, and I was pretty impressed with his juice, and he looked like he's got something to give this Washington football team. And I think the Giants are just going to absolutely fold today. I think it's going to be a beatdown there. So I'm going Jarrett Patterson plus 280 at FanDuel. He's emerged as a player in the Washington team's offense. Antonio Gibson's still kind of battling some injuries on that team as well. So I don't know if he's going to get a full workload. I think you're going to kind of see some Patterson mixed in. He is a rookie as well. So a lot of times when it comes to like later on in the week or later on in the year, you're going to start seeing some rookies get more playing time. Teams want to evaluate. What do we have in this guy? Can he be a player for us next year? So I really think Jarrett Patterson's going to get a nice workload today. And he's had some recent success. He has 2 touchdowns in his last 3 games. Plus 280 is really good value for a running back in that scenario. So I think Washington's going to put up a ton of points today. I really like this one.
The Antonio Gibson is the type of player in this offense that drives me crazy because maybe I'm just alone. Like, I don't really think he's that awesome. Like, I don't really think he's that good, but I'm being constantly forced the narrative that he is like the running back of the future for Washington, and I just don't really see it. So, and then he's a little bit banged up as well. Like, I mean, I think he'll play, but I think Washington has already proved this year that they can score with other running backs as well. I mean, you saw J.D. McKissick have a good couple touchdown runs earlier in the year. I'm actually really shocked that Taylor Heineke hasn't really been able to get into the end zone as much, especially given his ability. But I think at this rate, I have zero reason to watch this game, Washington or the Giants. So if you're going to give me Jarrett Patterson at those odds, I'll make an exception. All right. Now we've got 2 more picks each. For our big picks, I've got a couple bonus picks at the end. Going back to the Bears-Vikings, Brenden was able to find KJ Osborne, grabbed him at plus 210 at Bet365. Now, the good news is I grabbed that yesterday at plus 210. The good news for anybody who's watching and has access to FanDuel, he's actually up to plus 240 now. So I would take a look at that and grab it at those odds because he has touchdown catches in 4 of the last 5 games. And now Kirk Cousins is coming back. I kind of feel like that touchdown last week with the backup. I don't even remember the backup quarterback's name anymore. It doesn't even matter. But the fact that he caught a touchdown in that game, I just thought was silly.
Sean Mannion.
Oh yeah, Mannion, right? Because that just rolls off the tongue. So for me, the reason why I'm automatically in. So we've got Cousins coming back. The Bears have allowed the second most touchdowns of wide receivers this year. That's 20. When you start looking at Vikings skills player like Justin Jefferson or Dalvin Cook, both of them are at minus odds. It's not kind of really worth betting, in my opinion. So KJ Osborne at plus 210. You can get him at plus 240 at FanDuel is my fourth pick. Now, Brenden, can you remind me again, who was that wide receiver 3 that you scored a touchdown with that you bet? Amir
Smith-Marset.
Right. That guy. Yeah.
He had 1 catch for 9 yards and a touchdown that game.
And you were thankful for it. Didn't you get it at like plus 500 or something like that?
475.
Yeah, exactly. So I would not recommend him again this week. But again, if you're looking for a long shot and you're able to get him maybe in like plus 800, plus 1,000 odds, again, I'm not going to hate on that kind of pick. But I think KJ Osborne at plus 240 or plus 210 at Bet365, I think is probably, if not Darnell Mooney, I think at least for the Vikings is the best value. So that's my fourth pick. Brenden, let's keep it going here. I want to hear the fourth pick that you've got for Week 18.
Okay, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm going back to this team.
Do it.
The more I stared at the sky, the more I did my research. I had to pull the trigger, and I got it. We got to get one. We got to get a Jacksonville Jaguar before this season ends, or else I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to Laquan Treadwell plus 450.
Treadwell, all right.
At DraftKings. Look, Laquan Treadwell has taken over the top receiver spot in the Jaguars offense. I can't believe I'm saying that. That's actually a factual statement. He is the top receiver now. He has 20 targets in his last 3 games and has played over 80% of the snaps in each week since week 12. And if you've been following the show, kind of a trend we've had is kind of hitting whoever the Colts are playing, the opposing wide receivers. The Colts have given up the 3rd most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers this week. This Jacksonville Colts game is going to be funny. Have you seen or heard of the rumors that all the fans are going to be dressing in clown outfits today?
I have, and I'm seeing some of the stuff about sponsors wanting to pull out as well. And a lot of people, it's crazy, man, because a lot of people, too, have been trying to let me know about contract incentives, like, for example, for Marvin Jones as well, that if he gets a certain amount of catches or certain or scores a touchdown, he would also break or get kind of a bonus from there. I think you should go after the value with Treadwell, to be honest, based more so than Jones. I would also say don't even bother betting Laviska Shenault. Maybe but he has yet to score this year, and he is not a friend of the show. We are not on the Shenault train anymore. No. So that's 4 picks for us each. We each have 1 pick left. And Brenden, I grabbed this guy last time in this matchup, and it was at plus. What did I grab it at? Yeah, it was at plus 250. And now it's at plus 300, and they're just baiting me. And I know that it's probably a trap, but I got to take Brandon Cooks for an anytime touchdown at plus 300. I grabbed that at Bet365. He's still at plus 250 at FanDuel, so I would still play it at those odds. And do you know Brandon Cooks, like, again, he's just this quiet producer. He has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games, 43 targets in that span. Business is picking up for Cooks. And one of the points that I made the last time I bet him was that he has historically crushed this team. He had 3 touchdowns last year in 2 games against them. And he didn't have to do anything in the last matchup that they played because they ended up just running the ball mostly because Tannehill threw 4 freaking interceptions. So, why would Tyrod Taylor have to try to move the ball in that game? As well, another thing that we've been following, and really it's been an AFC South trend. The Titans, for example, they've given up 17 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. That's bottom 10 in the NFL. I believe it's 23rd in the NFL. There is no way that I'm passing on Cooks again in this matchup at plus 300, especially because, I hate to say it, Davis Mills has been looking half decent over the last few weeks. I'm not exactly a quarterback whisperer or evaluator, and I'm not saying that he's going to be the quarterback of the future of the Texans, but I think he's looked better than Tyrod Taylor has looked this year. So I'm going to take Brandon Cooks at plus 300, and I'd still recommend it to anybody to want to bet him at plus 250 at FanDuel if you want to tail.
The Texans have put up 71 points combined over the last 2 weeks, I believe, or it's week 15, 16. I don't have the exact numbers there, but they have put up a ton of points recently. The passing offense has something. I agree. I like Davis Mills. He's played pretty well. If I'm the Texans, he's my starting quarterback next year because they're not going anywhere, right? So might as well just keep him around.
Well, another guy, too, I mean, you could look at Nico Collins as well. You could probably get him around plus 350, plus 400, depending on the book. I wouldn't be mad at that pick either. I just think with the work and the volume, he's probably going to be matched up a little bit with Kevin Byard and one of the top corners for Tennessee. I still don't think it's an issue. I just think the volume alone is worth why you take Brandon Cooks in this spot. But again, that's me. So That is my 5 main picks for Week 18. Brenden, send us home, and then we're going to talk about some of the highlights and lowlights of the touchdown picks that we've had this year.
All right, last pick of the regular season for Brenden Deeg. We are going to Tampa in the Carolina Panthers versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I went with Scotty Miller. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. This guy ended up taking over Scotty Miller's touches, so I'm going to him. We're going with Cyril Grayson. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It is Cyril, right?
I think it's Cyril.
Cyril? Okay, Cyril Grayson plus 550. I was looking at him all week. I was very intrigued by him. I don't know if you've seen a picture of him. He looks exactly like Leonard Fournette. They look literally exactly alike. I don't know. And they're on the same team. It's very weird. I don't know how they tell each other apart in the locker room, but he's an emerging guy on the team. He's officially been signed to the 53-man roster this week after kind of being on the practice squad majority of the year. And he had 8 targets last week against the Jets. He's played over 64% of snaps in his last 2 games, and he's their deep threat now. He's the guy that they're going to be looking for to get the ball down the field. I like this kid. He's got some juice. I think plus 550 is tremendous value for basically a second wide receiver. And Tom Brady's throwing the ball against a Panthers team. This is really, really good value. Highly recommend this pick.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I think just my thing is that coming into this game, I just didn't know who wide receiver 2 was in this offense.
It looks like that's
and I mean at those odds, it's worth a swing because I've seen him as low as like, for example, at Bet365, one of the main books that I use, he's already down
plus 200, right? This morning.
Yeah, it's low. Yeah. So again, you're getting value at this point. Yeah. So Brenden, I can't pronounce his name probably very well. Brenden Idesy, just let us know. Grayson's down to plus 200, for example, at Bet365. So great value at DraftKings that you were to grab there. Yeah, I think with this offense, I think they're going to put up some touchdowns. I think Brady, if he wants any chance to win MVP, which I'm not really sure he will be able to, even if he was to have like a 6 touchdown day or something along those lines. But I also have another pick. I'm going to go into the bonus picks here in a minute. But I'm just going to recap our Week 18 picks just for people who may have late to the show and just want a quick recap here. So I started us off with Tyler Lockett at plus 225. You grabbed Darnell Mooney at plus 230. I took Jalen Waddle at plus 260. You have Van Jefferson at plus 240. I went with a long shot at Kyle Juszczyk at plus 950. You've got the new Washington running back Jarrett Patterson at plus 280. I went with KJ Osborne at plus 210. You have Laquan Treadwell at plus 450. And our final picks for Week 18 were Brandon Cooks at plus 300 and Cyril Grayson at plus 550. I'm just going to throw out these bonus picks before we talk about the highlights. The bonus picks that I have that I have them now in the FTNBets tracker. Just didn't have enough time for the show. Cameron Brate at plus 500 at FanDuel. I think it's a great spot here because I think Gronk is going to be needed to block here a little bit more in this spot. And I think Brate has been coming on, especially over the last few weeks. So I think this is good value. Going back to the Swaminator, grabbed him at plus 650. Jeff Swaim with the Titans playing against the Texans, who have allowed the most touchdowns to tight ends this year. And of course, Dawson Knox available at plus 210 at FanDuel. Auto bet when he's over plus 200. You know the drill. All right. So those are all of our picks. Brenden, I wanted to talk about some of the good picks that you've made this year and some of the duds, just like I did. And that's touchdown score betting. That's kind of what happens. Brenden, what is your favorite touchdown score better that you've hit this year during the show or even just during prime time?
So I think it was week 4, I believe. I was up. I think I was up plus 12 units just in that day. It was David Montgomery, 2+ plus 750. That was kind of the biggest hit of the year for myself. And that same day, we had who's the receiver from the Seahawks? It's Swain.
Oh, Freddie Swain.
Swain hit plus 550 as well in that same week. And there was one more I'm missing. I don't have it in front of me, but I went 3 for 5 that week. It was over plus 12 units. That was probably my best week on the show. A couple other ones that I really liked. Nick Westbrook-Akina comes to mind. No one even knew who the hell he was that week. Like when I was looking up, like who's the Titans' second receiver all week, I was like, who is this guy? Like I couldn't pronounce his name. I don't even know if I pronounced it right on the show. And our producer Tino put out that it was plus 1,200 on DraftKings right before the snap, and they spelled his name wrong on DraftKings, so I didn't think they were confused. He ended up scoring a touchdown there. I only got him at plus 480 that day, but if you got him at DraftKings before the game started, you would have got him at plus 1,200. So that was a nice hit. A couple weeks ago, I had Deebo Samuel 2+ that hit.
was
There were
good.
2 other ones, so I went 3 for 5 that week. But in general, man, this has been such a good. Let me get my low lights out too. Let's go with Gerald Everett. You remember the Gerald Everett pick? I had him. This guy was on the 1-yard line. The ball hits him in the chest, drops it, kicks it up, and it's intercepted. And they run it back, I believe, like 40 yards. So not even did he just not score for me. He drops it. He gives an interception right to the other team. So Gerald Everett, still pissed off at him about that one. And we got to go to the Quez Watkins one. Quez Watkins, I predicted.
That was the one I was going to bring up.
Quez Watkins, I predicted on Twitter he's going to burn Ronald Darby for a deep touchdown. He does exactly that. Burns Ronald Darby, ball right through his hands. Just pain right out, just pain all day on that one. But yeah, man, this has been a really good year. This is my first year of calculating every single touchdown bet I've hit. I started late last week, or last year, I believe it was week 5, and I kind of got into it. And this year is my first full year of tracking it, and it's been a really good year. And the show's been awesome, and looking forward to the playoff run as well.
Yeah, you've had some really good hits, man. This year for me, for the show, I mean, obviously, I think one of the things for me is I'm trying to get on angles earlier. Like now these guys, like when you bet on them, you can't get them at these same odds because they've scored, and now odds makers have adjusted. Like remember at the beginning of the year, I was always talking about Ryan Tannehill. I think I bet him 3 times on the show separately. We hit him twice, got him at like plus 500. I remember earlier in the year, and his odds have just slowly decreased as the years have gone, or as the games have gone on. One of my favorites, honestly, and maybe just because it was against the Eagles and it was the only touchdown catch he had all year, Adam Troutman at plus 500 still makes me laugh when I just think about just how poor that Saints offense is and the fact that he was still able to get open. It just still cracks me up. I still remember burning Bet365. I remember they had Jamar Chase at plus 220 in the first matchup against the Ravens, and that was one of those games.
4 for 5 that week, didn't you? Was that your big?
Yeah, week? that was a good week. And again, part of it was just being able to take advantage of skewed odds. But as well, you got to hit them anyway. It doesn't really matter if you have CLV, I guess, for props or touchdown odds. I want to talk about some of the lowlights. One of the things that I don't know why I just can't quit this guy. I mean, I think I've even threw him on a couple of parlays this week. Trevor Lawrence, man, I lost on him 3 times on the show this year. And I was like, one of them that I can't believe that I made this bet in hindsight was the one on the road against the Rams. Just a dumb bet by me, and one that I still laugh at. It was at plus 650. So, I mean, it is what it is. But at the same time, just one of those bets that I just loved thinking about, like where we made it here. Another one as well, Evan Ingram, bet him twice this year. F that guy, man. I'm sorry. I have zero respect for Evan Ingram and really just the Giants organization for drafting him that high and not using him as a tight end and trying to use him more as a wide receiver. You could have used your draft resources much better in that instance. And there's some primetime games that we've had some big hits, like Niners-Packers for this year. I swept the board with MVS, Ayuk, and Juice. That was a 12-unit winner. Vikings-Steelers I swept as well. That was KJ Osborne, Freiermuth, and Jefferson. Had Carson Wentz at plus 1,000 in week 5
on that one. That was a big one.
And then, of course, this week of primetime games, I had Harrison Bryant for plus 1,200 with the Browns. And then just last night, I had Drew Lock at plus 1,200 as well. And then, of course, Tyree Jackson, your boy, who catches 1 touchdown, 1 catch all year. And it's at plus 550. So
the primetime thing that sticks out of my mind for myself is I had Donald Parham, Justin Herbert, and Travis Kelce 2+. Of course, remember Donald Parham had the touchdown in the end zone, and then he got hurt. He whacked his head off the ground, dropped it. Justin Herbert puts plus 550, and Travis Kelce 2+ hit plus 750 to walk it off. So that was a big prime time for me. But yeah, man, this has been a ton of fun. The touchdown score bets is kind of like it's kind of became my baby, and like same with you, right? Like this is kind of my favorite part of the football season is finding value in this because there definitely is. Sports books allow value for these kind of touchdown scores if you do your proper research, do your proper and
shop around. That's the main thing I would stress because I think you could see this as an example. Like one book will have at plus 250, another one's down to plus 130. You have to shop around. Like for example, I have picks coming out later for Raiders and Chargers. Peyton Barber is plus 550 at BetMGM. But he's like plus 150 everywhere else. If you don't, that's why you have to look around for these. So that's going to be one of my picks for tonight when the video comes out a little bit later. But I just want people to kind of understand that, like the touchdown market, if you just strictly stick to one book, you're gonna lose value in the long run, not being able to kind of cash in on different spots. Okay, so that's all for us. That's the 2021 season.
Yep.
5 picks from me, 5 picks from you. I've got 3 bonus picks as well. We're also going to be doing Touchdown Town throughout the playoffs. I want people to kind of be aware that we're not going anywhere. We're still going to be out here making picks for the wild card games and the divisional round and conference championships and the Super Bowl. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be able to let you know when that show airs. It's either going to be on Saturday or Sunday, but I guarantee we're going to have you covered for touchdown picks for every divisional playoff round or playoff round, at least for the NFL. And like I said, I got touchdown score picks coming out for Sunday Night Football between Raiders and Chargers. That video will be coming out a little bit later this afternoon. And you can head over to FTNBets now and subscribe if you want to follow me on Twitter at GDog5000 to get all of those picks. I want to thank everybody who has been watching Touchdown Town from the start to the end. We're going to keep it moving. We do this for you. I'm Gilles Gallant with BetsTV. Bon chance.